on it. And he said he would pass his fire escape. Because he did the examination from where? From within or down below?
Gravel,
Needed a paint job, changed a couple bolts. We went there and we failed the whole entire fire escape system. This was definitely a fireman's trap. This was going to drop a lot of firemen.
But now, you say you went there after this guy passed.
Right. The secretary called us. The secretary of this location said, listen, I just got this thing that says, from this guy that says, fix these 4 things and I'll certify it. But here's the golden excuse, the golden parachute right here. This was not a load test, this is not a proper, there was no testing of any kind done. This is his golden. Understand? So if they don't walk the fire escape, if they don't answer those 25 questions, that's the problem. There's another one in Chicago, where the guy said, these are fine, paint them. I went there and I found all kinds of problems ready to drop this fire escape, major corrosion. Because he did this examination from the ground or walking it. So this confidence test that I handed you makes them walk the fire escape. If they don't walk the fire escape, it is not a good examination. It's a fly-by, drive-by. Looking at this fire escape, there's a pass or fail. There's just need a paint job. But once you get underneath it, look what you see. And this is at a detention center, a juvenile detention center. Now, this is why most firemen are scared of fire escape, because of improper maintenance. Remember I told you it takes 25 years to grow more or less a quarter inch of rust? It takes almost 50 years to grow half an inch of rust. How much rust we got here? Right? And when the treads, which is where you're going to get most of your injuries on firemen and people, is the treads, right? Here's what we do when we go up a fire escape. We have to do what's called a hammer test. That's a simple 3-pound hammer. Right? This is the fire escape that I showed you in Chicago. Look what I found. The guy said, just needs a paint job. I could pull bolts off with my fingers. So again, there's a lot of examinations from the ground. And that's why they can give you an opinion, to the best of my information, knowledge, and belief. That's a ground look-up inspection. When you have them fill out the 25-point questionnaire, there's specific questions that can only be answered when you're on the fire escape. Oh, these things. Remember I shut down a few towers? Does this look safe? But once I walked it, look how many treads I came. And this is inside the building. You know when you guys throw hay and you burn wood and you smoke up the place? And you fill it with water, look how much rust is in the connection there, guys. Fire towers all over the US. This is in Waltham, Massachusetts. I shut it down. I didn't shut it down. I mean, I just said, guys, don't train guys on this anymore until you get this fire escape fixed. But, you know, it's the kind of rust you're seeing out there, guys. This is what I see every day. This is what people want me to climb up of every day. The big problem is not what you see, it's what you can't see. This is what's buried behind your walls. This is what load testing will verify. See all this rusty tears coming out? Mm-hmm. That's an indicator. The only way you get rusty tears down any side of a building is because this is what it feeds. Look how thick the steel is out here. This steel is not causing this. This steel, once it dries, does it continue rusting? No. If this stays nice and moist, and this is the veneer wall, this is the dirty block wall, and you got a 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch spacing between, and you got a leak on the roof, or you got cracked sills above this, what's this giving? You're making rust iron soup, and where's it come out? What's the load test for? It's for this.
Rust never sleeps.
Okay? The pre-load test evaluation is 97% of the fire escape on the outside. What about the 3% that you don't know? That's what load testing covers. So you know what the answer is for a lot of this rusty connections into a building? Let sleeping dogs lie. It takes me $500 to open up this wall. It takes me $50 to leave that alone. Still got to be taken care of. And you put a through bolt next to it. So if that's a connection into the building, 6 to 8 inches away, can I drill a 3/4 bolt hole through the wall? Will I find good masonry back there? Can I bury a Hilti 8 to 12 inches deep? Can I make a mechanical connection that comes back and picks this up and then just seal this baby up and be done with it? And now, the original connection is at 100% or less. The new connection is at what? 100%. So where are we? We're either at 200 or 175 or 150. And what's the minimum I need? 100, which is the new bolt over here. What about this original one? Leave it alone, it's a 100-year-old building, why do you wanna go look for stuff? You should need to verify that it's connected. So I'll epoxy bolted over here, or through bolted with a plate on the inside, do I care about this connection anymore? And then when I come showing up and everybody's yelling load test, load test, load test, what do I want? Other evidence of strength, other evidence of strength, other evidence of strength. So is this about a load test? Is this really about load testing? Or refurbishing fire escapes back to other evidence of strength? Because if you provide me other evidence of strength, do I have to load test it every 5 years, or what's the national norm? If you refurbish a fire escape today, the national norm is every 15 to 25 years you pushed off load testing. Because I keep showing up with what? Other evidence of strength. And if I've taken every connection on that building and I've given you 25-year silicone, 50-year paintable silicone in every connection that's major structural, am I pushing it closer to the 25? And when 25 comes along, what do? Take all the bolts out, put a new bolts in, what have you done? Reset the clock. So this is not a load test. It's something you have had in your pocket that you've never known, and you should be using it when somebody's abusing the power of, to the best of my information, knowledge, and belief. What do you say? Great, then I'll take a load test. What day do you have it scheduled for? Oh, nobody load tests. You say, really? Let me get you on a nice page. Otherwise, what would you want from those people? You want them to give you other evidence of strength. So they may say to you, listen, we changed all the bolts on the treads. You say, great. You have to load test the treads now? No. What about the connections into the building? What are they going to say? Ah, they look fine. For who? Superman? Because what's the load test for? What you can't see or what you can see?
What you can't.
If you have a square head bolt or a rivet that's 50 to 75 years old, that's what the load test is for. But you take that rivet out of the equation, you take that square head bolt out of the equation, is there any load test? But there's still something you don't know, which is into the building. What do you do with that? Through bolted with a plate, or put a new epoxy, or open it up. To open this up costs about $500 per connection. Involves a mason. Got it? And it stays wet. This is what load tests. This 50, 75 years ago, this wasn't like that. It was brand new steel in there. Nobody was worried. But now, with all the cracks, the what do you call it, the roof lines that have leaked all the water through, this is what a through bolt looks like inside. This is what it looks like for me to examine a piece of steel. I have to take a 3/4 drill, I have to drill 3, 4, 5 of them, so I can see how long the steel and how it looks. Am I examining or am I destroying the connection? But if I take the same connection, I put it over there, I drill one hole, put an epoxy bolt in there, then back clip it to this connection, do I care now about the original connection? And when you look down that hole, this is fire escape proctology. What do you see?
Beauty.
You see nothing. I can't see anything. You know what I'm saying? Look what you have to do. And look, when you look inside, look. This is what I look like looking down a fire escape's tailbone. Can't see nothing. So, it's just, nobody wants to pay the extra expense of all this stuff. So it's really about refurbishing fire escapes. Hit other evidence of strength. Everybody has other evidence of strength. And is welding other evidence of strength? Why? Let's see if you were paying attention, because this is all nuts and bolts technology. Take a bolt out, put a bolt in, don't leave any connection with rust inside. Why is welding not correct for fire escape cancer? Because it's just a Band-Aid. Over what? Because what? Did you remove the cancer? So if you weld cancer into a connection, what happens? It's just a Band-Aid. Will it fail 1 week later with another engineer? Yeah, one who cares. What about the one that just signed off on that guy's work? But who's he? He's somebody that should be brought up on charges, because will and could he harm a tenant in that building in the future? Could he and will he harm a fireman? So if I get a fire escape case in New Jersey, where a fire escape was just certified last year, and all the connections were welded, you know what we got? When somebody dies, a tenant, a baby and a fireman dies. You know what we got there? Somebody willingly welded, right? Remember what happened in Oakland? 2 questions for all firefighters and building inspectors. Ready? Because they have lawsuits galore, right? 38 dead people. First question is, what did you know? When did you know it? Right? And so if somebody's welding fire escapes and there's a dead baby and a dead fireman holding that baby, right? The welding guy, does he know better? Well, there you go. The engineer who signed off on that, knowingly or not knowingly? Why? Is welding an accepted means of repair? No. It's not an industry standard mean. Can you weld and repair? You sure can. There's all these things you have to do, right? You have to get a fire watch. You have to remove all the rust. You have to break that bolt. And after you break that bolt, what do you do? Put a bolt back in to hold it in place so you can weld it? Doesn't make any sense. So be careful. If any of you have had the welding witch doctors in your city, I would definitely recommend that you, through the National Fire Escape Association, identify these welded fire escapes. Let's go back, and you can actually just have them redo it. That's all. If you have somebody that has signed off on a fire escape that has been welded in your city, let's go take a look at it. If there's rust in the connection, you just simply ask the company that did the repair and the engineer that signed off on it to come back and refurbish that fire escape in its entirety with new bolts, meet all the EPA requirements. Otherwise, you will do what? Who do you call? Not Ghostbusters. Right? So that's the main thing you guys have. So if you do have some of these fire escapes welded in your community, please identify them. We'd be more than happy, even if you take your phone, take a picture of it, you guys have a lot more power to basically stop these welding witch doctors out there. They're very dangerous. They're putting the tenants and your firemen in danger. All right, this is the I'll end it on here because what time is it? You guys just give me an idea.
12:15.
Thank you.
I'm going to end it on this slide, because not this slide, but this is the slide where I took a fire escape off a school that went from kindergarten to 8th grade. And you know who brought me in? Was it the fire department? No. Was it the building department? No. Was it a teacher that took your little kids down this set of stairs every day to kindergarten recess? Or was it the maintenance guy? The maintenance guy. I only had a window of like 10 days during Christmas to take the old one down and put up a brand new one. So what I did is, because it was so bad of a fire escape, I actually kept it, a piece of it, and I use it in a lot of my classes. I actually bring that fire escape. It's so rusted, has no paint left on it, because little kids, why do they like lead paint? Anybody know why? Tastes sweet. Anybody know that? That lead paint tastes sweet, that's why little kids eat it. Some of the biggest damage to the brain of a child when they're young is that, and it can come from many things, but a lot of times it's just from that. And a lot of people don't realize that when the father came home working in demolition and doing all kinds of things, guess what he had on his? You'll learn this on an EPA class. The father came home, he had his couch. So the father came home, did he get out of his clothes right away? The kids came in and did what with daddy? Got on the couch, daddy sat in this couch. And what was in this couch? All the lead dust, all the lead paint. So they were able to track down where lead, aside from the child eating lead along the windows, because it tasted sweet. It also smells sweet when you burn it. A lot of people don't know that when you burn lead, it smells sweet. But the children were actually getting it from that. This is all the wrong ways to do fire escapes. So that's what I did. I made a dog and pony show out of it. I showed you all the wrong ways to fix a fire escape. So this is one of the wrong ways. Welding your clip on the top. See that? Just throwing welds. Leave the rust inside. So I purpose, look, buried in the ground, look at the holes. So what I did is I made this one side the original, the other side a fix, and I fixed it using the welding witch doctors. See? Didn't matter if it had rust in it, just weld the nose, right? So that's what it looks like, well, just weld it. You're gonna see original hardware, rust in the connection, weld. It grows 1/16, so what happens to that weld? That needs 70,000 pounds of force to rip it. when it grows 1/16, ask any welding guy. Welds can't handle ice jacking, they can't handle rust jacking, it just snaps. What about that bolt? There's rust jacking in there. Still going. Why is that bolt still holding on? Because they'll stretch for 10 to 15 years. They'll eventually go. But they're made to stretch and destroy themselves over 10 to 15 year period. See all the wrong ways? See? Oh, by the way, do I pull permit, the fire permit with you guys? When I'm working on a 100-year-old tinderbox of a house with the backyard full of garbage and leaves and things? Nobody pulls permits, right? But this is what you're finding. So if in your city the welding witch doctors have been in there, let's find those, pull them up, pull it out, let's go take a peek. I don't have to go with you, take a picture and send it back to us because you want to get, this is the best part. You've caught a rat. As soon as you caught a rat, you have that rat come into your office and say, I want you to go back and change all the bolts, remove all the rust, at no additional charge to the client. That's all you have to remember. Otherwise, the engineer and the person who welded that, this is a hand grenade. This is ready to go off in the future. Nobody knows what day, but it'll either hurt a tenant or a fireman. That's an improper repair. This is a piece. It used to be a 4-foot piece. Turned it into a 2-foot piece, and I brought it in. I left it exactly the way it is. No paint. This is what the children walk down this rusty fire escape every day. Kindergarten to 8th grade. This is what it looked like. I saved this bottom piece and I saved a piece of the top piece. And I used it as a show and tell. It took me longer to save it in its rotten position than if I just tore it down and, you know what I'm saying? So every day for recess, children would come up and down this thing, put their hand on that rusty fire escape, put their hands to their mouth while they're eating lunch and do what? Themselves a daily dose of Flintstones or lead paint, right? No paint left on this thing. Actually, I'm sorry, you see the picture of the new one? The new one, we went off to the side, so, because it actually came, and the kids ran underneath it with all the sharp, it's crazy. And it's a private school, French private school. Okay, so these are the kind of things. So I want to leave it here, and you have the book, you have the confidence test, the questions, the 25 questions, okay? When you get a chance, open them up. As I told you before, the most important thing that you guys really want to leave this class with is that under fire escapes and J, anything and everything that we've said is sitting there. All the codes are there. So you can help a lot of your city officials, you can help a lot of your city owners, both residential and commercial. If they don't know after you write a violation what to do next, say, hey, just go to this page, gather your information, go around, look around, get educated. And who can they use? They want the fire escape to be inspected. They can only use me, or can they use any engineer, structural, any architect registered, any others acceptable to the building official, meaning if somebody that is not an architect or an engineer and they want to work in your city, who they got to call? And on that, you can use under the technical. So you can allow, if you want to allow somebody, otherwise you want to stamp on there, right? Who can paint it? Anybody in your city? Right? As long as they have an EPA renovator's license. They know what to do with lead paint. Who can fix it? Anybody in your city that owns a welding machine to use it or to have it on their truck because you're really looking for their tools to fix this fire escape? Any ornamental guy? Can a construction company fix the fire escape?
Sure.
Yeah. Do you need a permit to fix this fire escape? Not always. Painting and routine maintenance does not require a permit. Can you request a permit? You're involving who now? Building department. On the very back of your book now, towards the last page, you see the tags. The key now is how do you make this a checklist item, right? Towards the end, this is not something you have to remember. Any of the stuff we just taught you here. If you add this as a checklist to your, I don't know, you have a sheet that you look at when you look at a residential building. You have a sheet when you look at a commercial building. You have your yearly inspections. Just hand write it in that you're asking for a copy of the certificate, which a lot of times will be covered under the 5-year, your green card inspection. Otherwise, when 2015 gets adopted, which you say may happen this year, It's in fire code, it's not in building code. And it says all fire escapes must be examined every 5 years in the entire US. So they finally caught it in 2012. Fire escape same day, that's all. So if you want to see what's going on in Boston, fire escape Boston, fire escape Chicago, fire escape Seattle. So we made a page for every state that has a majority of fire escapes. So that's all you have to remember. Go here, learn a little bit, poke around. You don't have to register, you don't have to do anything, but it'll give you a lot of great information. Okay? That's the class.
Thank you.
And if you have any problems, any questions, what you guys want to do is like take a picture of your phone, send it to us. We'll answer any question free of charge. So we'll go through the National Fire Escape Association for that. Yes, Mark?